low. I don't understand that. All right.
I'm not leaving. I'm here. I'm not leaving.
All right. Oath
Go inside.
here. Go Dogs. I figured that would get your attention. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here for this important meeting. I've got a couple of housekeeping reminders that I want to give each of you before we get started into our agenda. First, please speak into the microphones that are available for you. Be advised they are extremely sensitive. If you're a guest to the meeting, please be sure to sign in or email rsvp@georgiacourts.gov so we can have a record for our minutes. This meeting is being recorded, both audio and visually. It's being live streamed. It's open, of course, as always, to the public and the press. During votes, to make things simpler and consistent with our prior practice, we will only call for opposition only to votes. We have one member unable to attend, and they've sent a designee. Judge Scott Chastain is here for Judge Chris Baller, Council Probate Court Judges. Where are you? Thank you. Good to see you again, Scott. Thank you and welcome. We've got some special guests that I want to recognize. First, my law school classmate, Senate President Pro Tem John Kennedy is here. He's also chair of the Senate Appropriations Judicial Subcommittee. Where are you, Senator? Thank you, John. Nice to have you here with us today. In addition, we have Representative Sue Hong, also Governor's Floor Leader. Where are you, Madam Representative? Thank you. We're glad to have you here. We're going to hear from both of them momentarily. James Beal, who is General Counsel to Pro Tem Kennedy. Where are you, James? Right there next to him, where you should be. Good for you. Thank you for being with us. We have other staff from where? Yeah, from Senator Kennedy. You have others other than James Beal here with you?
Charlie Barrett.
Yeah, Charlie.
Chief Justice, my Chief of Staff.
Thank you, Charlie. Good to see you, and thank you for being here as well. We also have chief judges and others present that are going to be here to present on the Judicial Council Workload Assessment Committee recommendations. So thank you all for being here. I've spoken to many of you this morning already. Retired Judge Tane Kell. It's hard to say that. Retired Judge Tane Kell. Tane, thank you for being here. He's a Judicial Council Fellow and helped really facilitate a wonderful AOC 50th anniversary celebration video. And thank you, Tane, for all you do to support the AOC. We also have Mr. David Amati, from the Georgia State Ethics Commission. David, thank you for being with us today. He's going to present very briefly some material that all of our elected judges would be interested in hearing. So always thank you for being with us and for your contributions to assist us. We have to now administer the oath to some new members of our court, or of our council, and so I'm going to ask you to please stand. We're going to do it from the bench here.
Yeah, you can.
Just if everybody, as I call your name, will please stand. Vice Chief Trent Brown, new Vice Chief Judge of the Georgia Court of Appeals. Judge Ann Harris, President-elect of the Council of Superior Court Judges. Judge David Dickinson, 9th Judicial Administrative District. Judge Cheryl Jolly, 10th Judicial Administrative District. Judge Jeff Hansen, President-elect of the Council of State Court Judges. Judge T. Neil Brunt, President-elect Council of Juvenile Court Judges. Judge Scott Chastain, if you'll stand. Judge Robert Wolf, President-elect of the Council of Magistrate Court Judges. Judge David Will, President-elect of the Council of Municipal Court Judges. And Tony Del Campo, the new President of the State Bar of Georgia. If you will all raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia, according to the best of my ability and understanding, that as a member of the Judicial Council, I will endeavor to improve the administration of justice in this state for the benefit of the public, as well as the bench and bar. And that I will strive to improve the judicial system of this state as a whole, as well as in its parts. And that I will support the Constitution of the United States. States and the Constitution of the State of Georgia. And the Constitution of the State of Georgia. So help me God. So help me God. Please be seated. And congratulations and welcome. Since we've last met, we've had the privilege at our court of attending the investiture ceremony at the Georgia Court of Appeals for a new Chief Judge, Amanda Mercier, and Vice Chief, Trent Brown. We welcome you all both for being here, and congratulations on your new duties. And we look forward to working with you and for your contributions to the council. So thank you. Judge Mercier hates attention, so you're welcome I did that. Cynthia, we would now like to do a roll call of Judicial Council members. Can you assist me with that?
Absolutely. I think we've got everybody here except for Judge Warner Kennan, Chief, but I am happy to go through it. Presiding Justice Mills Peterson.
Here.
Chief Judge Amanda Mercier. Here. Vice Chief Trent Brown.
Here.
Judge Bill Hamrick.
Here.
Judge Morris.
Here.
Vice Chief Judge Ann Harris.
Here.
Judge Stewart.
Here.
Judge Cross.
Here.
Judge Sizemore.
Here.
Chief Judge Letitia Deere Jackson.
Here.
Chief Judge Ural Glanville.
Here.
Chief Judge Fletcher Sams.
Here.
Chief Judge Scott Smith.
Here.
Chief Judge Sarah Wall.
Here.
Judge David Dickinson.
Here.
Judge Cheryl Jolly.
Here.
Chief Judge John Edwards. Chief Judge Jeff Hansen.
Here.
Judge Kennan is not here. Judge Neil Brunt.
Here.
Judge Daniel McCrae.
Here.
Judge Scott Chastain.
Here.
Thank you for joining us. Chief Judge Brandon Bryson.
Here.
Judge Robert Wool.
Here.
Chief Judge Matthew McCord.
Here.
Chief Judge David Will.
Here.
And the Honorable Tony Del Campo.
Here.
Well, wonderful. Great turnout. Thank you all for your attendance today for what is going to be a very long agenda, but we're going to try and get through it and do order. So at this point, we're going to call on State Bar President Tony Del Campo to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flags are in front of you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you. Be seated. Thank you, Tony. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes, which you'll find from our last meeting on April 21st, which was our general session held in Columbus. The minutes are behind tab 1. If you all had an opportunity to review the minutes, does anybody have any additions or deletions or corrections to the minutes as submitted? Hearing none, is there a motion that they be approved as submitted? Judge Wall has moved. Is there a second? Judge Sams has seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I now want to introduce a little more formally Senator John Kennedy and Representative Sue Hong and ask for your attention. You all know Senator Kennedy. You know that he's represented the Bibb County, greater Bibb County area, but Crawford, Monroe, and Peach and Upson counties, as well as a portion of Bibb County and Houston counties since 2014. His colleagues have elected him to serve as President Pro Tem for the Senate majority in the 2023 and 24 legislative term. Of course, we all owe him a great debt of gratitude and appreciation for his service and partnership as chairman of the Senate Appropriations Judicial Subcommittees and for his support and sponsorship of all Judicial Council legislation that this group has approved. He serves as chairman of the Administrative Affairs Committee, vice chair of the Banking and Finance Services Committee, and secretary of Regulated Industries and the Utilities Committee. Senator Kennedy earned a law degree in economics from Mercer University in 1987. He completed his law degree at Mercer University School of Law in 1990. He is a partner at the Macon-based law firm of James Bates, Brennan Groover, LLP, and he practices in the area of civil litigation. He does a lot of trial work, business advice, and practices in the fiduciary law area. He's previously served as president of the Macon Bar Association and as a member of the Board of Governors for the state of Georgia. So please all welcome Senator Kennedy. Senator, thank you.
Well, good morning. Justice Boggs, my dear friend and classmate, thank you for that kind introduction. I appreciate that. It really is my honor to address this Judicial Council today and a special occasion to celebrate 50 years of this council's steady, efficient, and successful leadership. I look around the room and I see so many judges that I know and have been friends with and have admired your work over the years. I will tell you, as I sat there and looked around the room, I've had positive flashbacks of appearing before you. No PTSD, thankfully. It's all been positive flashbacks, and so I'm thankful for that. So thank you, Chief Justice Boggs and Presiding Justice Peterson, for your service and the opportunity to address you briefly today. I want to specifically thank two judges from my district. Judge Hanson, thank you for you and your service. Judge McCray, thank you for your service in what my Senate district, or what Justice Boggs calls the best Senate district in the state of Georgia, number 18, where I have the privilege of serving. I will tell you, as Justice Boggs referred to as Senate Chairman of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Appropriations, I have the privilege to follow closely the policies and performance of the judiciary, and it is a duty that I do not take lightly. But it is one that is grounded in an age-old concept of collaboration, and I'm very grateful for that. The Senate is deeply respectful of the separation of powers, and knowing that fact is why I am especially honored to be invited today. And we in the legislature have relied on the Judicial Council now for 50 years to give us guidance and direction on how best to approach issues affecting the judiciary. And I am grateful for that, yes, collaboration that we have. So, as I said, I've appeared before many of you now and continue to do so because my children have gotten used to eating, so I still have to practice law. Please be nice to me if you see me in your courtroom. But in all seriousness, the successful collaboration between the legislature and the judiciary begins really in this room, right here with you. The kind of collaboration results in strong policy to help our fellow citizens that we are all here to serve, something that we as elected officials are obligated to do, but many of us and all of us take seriously and relish in. I would be remiss if I did not note the positive effect of our collaboration. This year, I sponsored and the governor signed SB 272, which removed some of the gamesmanship over the management of criminal records in this state. That was something I worked on with many of you in this room, and thank you for that. That issue had reached a crescendo recently with millions of records languishing without final disposition, which negatively impacts our citizens, our employers, and public safety, quite frankly. There are a lot of factors that go into the cause of the problem, but the legislature and the judiciary were able to work together on this to find a good policy and a solution. And I'm glad to see that the leadership exhibited by the Judicial Council and the Administrative Office of Courts is taking the issue head on, and I urge your continued focus on fixing that problem. Now, enough about me. I have the same goal that you do, and that is to serve the folks that elected me in this great state that we get to live in. And I look forward to moving all of us forward and working with you in that regard. And again, I say congratulations for 50 years of excellent leadership. Thank you for the chance to visit with you this morning. Mr. Justice, Chief Justice, it's great to see you as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate your presentation and your kind words, and your focus on collaboration is always very important, Senator. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Representative Sue Hong from House District 103. She first elected in November of 2022. Representative Hong represents Beaufort, Sugar Hill, the unincorporated areas of Gwinnett County and Southern Hall County. In 2023, Representative Hong was named the floor leader for Governor Brian Kemp. She also serves on the House Judiciary Committee, the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee, on which she also serves as a subcommittee chair. She's a member of the Judicial Nominating Commission, along with myself. She graduated from Georgia Institute of Technology in 2003, and she's also a graduate of Mercer University School of Law. We've got a trend going on here, folks. Representative Hong is a partner at Blevins & Hong, PC. She's practiced law for over a decade in Gwinnett and Cobb counties. Representative, thank you for being with us, and you're welcome to come up and make a few remarks, please.
Thank you so much for having me today. Obviously, Senator Kennedy is a more seasoned legislator than I am, but I wanted to share with you a little bit of my experience as a legislator, as a freshman legislator that just served and finished my first session this year. We had one of the largest freshman classes, and we did not have a speaker going into this session, so we had a very unique experience. I will say being an attorney definitely gave me a legs up being a legislator, and that's why I was able to serve on both judiciary committees as well as be appointed to chair a subcommittee. As you all know, there aren't that many lawyer legislators anymore. And so I was able to have those opportunities and definitely learned a lot, and definitely will be continuing to learn a lot as well. I love being able to learn that process and understand the procedural movements as well as the political parts of it. But most importantly, I like being an advocate for my constituents as well as being able to support causes that I'm really passionate about. And one of those that I was able to do is for this organization. You all play such a critical role in supporting and giving advice to all the professions across the state, and everybody relies on your knowledge as far as the court systems go. As a practicing lawyer, and as Senator Kennedy said, I have to earn a living as well, so I continue to practice, and I've seen, especially during COVID, all that you guys have done and all the work that you have put in. And so I really appreciate that. And you guys are a looking for type of committee. And so I really appreciate how and what you guys did during COVID and how you have continued to do that and made the court system a lot more efficient. So I was proud to sponsor a House resolution for the Judicial Council and Administrative Office of the Courts for the 50th anniversary, and it's House Resolution 594, if you want to bring it up.
Right there to your right.
It's right
Oh, sorry. So I was able to sponsor a House Resolution 594 recognizing May 4th as the Judicial Council Administrative Office of the Court's 50th anniversary in Georgia. So I am very proud to have sponsored this. There are many lawyer legislators that have signed on to this, and very honored to be presenting this to the council. This resolution passed unanimously, and May 4th was a great day for this organization, the entire state of Georgia. It is definitely the least that I could do to honor such an outstanding and supportive organization that keeps one of the most important pillars of our government strong. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I do see my former boss, Judge Rob Leonard over there, and many of the judges that I do still practice in front of. So thank you so much for all the work that you do, and I would love to present this to your council. Thank you so much.
So as Cynthia's coming up to accept the resolution formally, I want to thank you for your support of the Judicial Council and your recognition of all of the hard work that the Judicial Council does for all of the judges across our state. We're very appreciative for the support and the recognition. Often they go unnoticed, but we know how hard they work for the classes of court in our state. So Cynthia, congratulations. Senator Kennedy, why don't you come over there too, and let's get a photograph of the three of y'all. Cynthia, stand in the middle, if you will. I'm going to have to arrange you all, apparently. Yeah, I've got a backup plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate the recognition. We really. The AOC has many of their team members here today, so for all of you that are here, that resolution is in your honor as well, and is a method of appreciating you for your service to the judges of our state. Senator, thank you. Thank you for what you all do to support our courts and what we know you will do in the future to continue to support our courts. And we're happy for you to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you need to leave, we're welcome to excuse you as well.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Judge Kennan has joined us.
Yeah. Judge Kennan is here, so thank you, Judge. I saw you standing over here, but you were, yeah, thank you for being with us. With that, we're going to listen now. Director David Amati from the Georgia State Ethics Commission is here to give us a brief update. David, we're always delighted to have you join us, and we thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us to talk about something that judges are very interested in. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I do enjoy coming to these. Seems I come to about one of these a year, but I particularly enjoy coming to the August meeting because, as you all know, it's the jaywalk meeting, and I enjoy seeing Rob Leonard get yelled at by everybody. So this is always a privilege. My Deputy Director Joe Cusack is here with me. We're going to stick around afterwards for questions. Answer any questions you have. Again, if you need to yell at Rob Leonard, don't let us get in the way, but we'll be here.
There's plenty of time.
And I'll be brief. I know it's a packed meeting. Over the past couple years, you all know we've been working to remove the affidavit of public officer as a required filing, given that you all have the 3.1 filing with the Supreme Court anyways. And we mostly did that. We thought we did that last year. There was some open question as to whether we did it in the same manner if it's an election year versus non-election year, because that affidavit exemption is tied to your financial disclosure statement. We took a little bit of a scalpel and we clarified that. So that's not going to impact anything you need to do or should have done. You're fine. But if you hear anything about that from your legislators, that's what they're talking about. What we did more substantively with the affidavit is we fully exempted the senior judges from having to file one. And that was something we couldn't really figure out for a while how to do. But you can go ahead and let your senior judges back home. They know they no longer have that affidavit of public officer requirement. So that's something we're taking off the plate. For the Superior Court judges and the appellate judges, we've rolled out an upgrade to your financial disclosure statement, where in the past when you log in the file, you have to sort of plug everything, type everything out anew. We created a feature where you can now just import the information you put last year, and it'll auto upload into your new disclosure and save you some time there. Contribution limits have been upgraded and raised after the governor's election. So for non-appellate judges, you now have an extra $300 per cycle you can raise. For the appellate judges, that has gone up an additional $800 per cycle. Just know that if you have a contested election, you need to raise money, there's a little more wiggle room for you there, and you can reach out to get those direct numbers from us. And finally, I'm not going to step on Justice LaGrua, who's talking about the JSEC stuff, but just know that we're going to be a partner with y'all in the legislative session. We do have an appointee to that committee, so anything you need from us, we're here to help. But with that, Chief, go Dogs, and that's all I have.
Well, thank you, David. We appreciate it. I don't think anyone's got any questions, but we really appreciate the work on the affidavit of public officers. Also, as someone who does these myself in the past, the ability to import prior data from prior reports to new reports is certainly a time saver and very much appreciated, I know, by everyone. So thank you for all you do. They've been always very responsive to questions that we've had and the needs that we've tried to articulate on behalf of the judges, elected judges across the state. So appreciate your service. We also appreciate your collaboration with our JSEC committee as we start thinking about judicial security and the public housing and of your data on websites and in databases such as housed at the State Ethics Commission. So thank you for that collaboration. Appreciate you being here. With that, we're going to move into Judicial Council committee reports. I will lead us off with a report on the Arpa Funding Committee. You find a written report at tab 2. I want to highlight there always are ongoing changes and updates that I think you'll find important to your respective circuits. And so let me give you a couple of high-level updates. As you know, there's a lot of new important information about future ARPA grant programs on our website. You can go to that website and get the updated information. Most of you know that last month I had an opportunity to meet with new OPB Director Richard Dunn and members of the OPB and also the Governor's Office and Judicial Council staff. We had a really positive conversation. Following that meeting, they approved some of the requests, in fact, all of the requests that I had at the moment for enhancements to our ARPA grant program. I'm going to cover those as follows. The first You all remember that the ARPA grant program had a sunset date of December 31st of '24. So the money that we had, the original amount of $96 million that was given to the AOC to help remediate serious violent crime case backlogs in your respective circuits had to have been expended or at least encumbered by end of 2024. We expect to have enough money to extend that. I asked for them for permission to extend the program through 2026, and they agreed. So it will provide additional support and opportunities for you to have support for your respective circuits. In addition, because of that extension, and mainly because we now have the ability for you to get AV equipment in your respective courtrooms through the ARPA grant program, and we know that the contracts that you're entering with your AV and equipment service providers probably extend beyond the calendar year grant award that you currently have, and to give you some certainty for hiring in your ADA's offices, for example, we're going to allow all 2023 grants to be extended through December 31 of 2025. So you don't have to reapply. You can. There'll be opportunities to ask for amendments and changes, but to the extent you've gotten an award that is not expended by the end of 2024, you do not need to reapply moving forward. In addition, the application period for next year, the 2023 application period has been moved up and it's been extended. So applications are now going to be accepted from August 28th to September the 15th. This will give the AOC staff time to digest and work through any legal impediments included in those and get those approved before we move forward. In addition, for the final year of the grant program, which is 2026, that will be a 9-month grant program because Treasury requires that we wrap up all expenditures and all reimbursements by the end of the calendar year, which means that for calendar year 26, it'll be a grant program through 9 months of the year only. We also have and requested and were awarded the ability to extend and expand eligible grant fund uses to now include legal research software licenses for ARPA-funded staff attorneys and prosecutors, and evidence management software in your DA's offices to the extent that they want to use some of the evidence management software that's available now off the shelf. We are going to have another committee meeting on Friday, November 3rd to make award decisions. Those awards will be announced following the decision. I want to give you a quick recap on where we are with calendar year 23 funding. We met last on May the 19th as a committee to consider applications and make award decisions for circuits that applied for calendar year 23 funding and for awards that were effective on June the 1st of 23. At that time, the committee awarded over $15 million to 25 judicial circuits, 3 of which were first-time applicants. Of the $15 million that was total, $12.9 million was awarded for audiovisual equipment modernization projects in existing courtrooms. So y'all are all taking advantage of that, and I appreciate that and hope you'll have opportunities to continue to take advantage of the audiovisual equipment expenditure category. Overall, in calendar year 23, the committee has awarded grants to 39 of our 50 judicial circuits in Georgia for a total award grant of $54,992,894. The AOC team continues to work closely with circuits on getting your reimbursements back to you as soon as possible. As of Friday, just last Friday, $15,385,657 has been, $15,385,657 has been reimbursed for calendar year 22 expenses. $3,458,000 has been reimbursed for calendar year 23. That includes audiovisual equipment modernization expenses. I'll remind you that the AOC has done a wonderful job in setting up a dashboard that is real-time and provides you real-time status of your reimbursement request. You should consult. We ask you please to consult the dashboard before reaching out to the AOC team about your reimbursement status. That dashboard will tell you in what stage it is in, whether it's in OPB review, our review, whether it's been approved by OPB and sent to us and not yet reimbursed to you. All of that is on the dashboard. And of course, as always, I want to thank Tracy and Darren and the entire Regina and Peterson, David, who are all here. I want to thank them for their really hard work. You don't get a chance to see them. I meet with them regularly. I call them regularly. I'm sure they're tired of those calls, but they've worked really hard to accommodate me and the requests that I've relayed to them from you all. And so I just want you to know we have a wonderful AOC team that's working hard to make sure that your courts work appropriately and take advantage of these resources that the governor has so kindly, and OPB has so kindly given to us to help you with your backlogs. So with that, happy to answer questions, but if there are no questions, we can move on to the next item on the agenda. Any questions at all?
Which is legislation.
Legislation Committee, and I'll now turn it over to Presiding Justice Nels Peterson.
Thank you, Chief. A written report is provided in your materials behind tab 3. The committee met on July 12th and then again on July 27th to discuss legislative items for the 2024 session of the General Assembly. And the committee has approved 3 pieces of legislation and has 1 additional request, which amounts to 4 action items this morning. Point 1, and this will sound familiar, you will recall the petition for review legislation that was a priority of this council a couple of years ago. This past session, we had a cleanup bill to clean some things even before it went into effect. As we have started getting up to speed on how all of this is going to work, we have discovered additional technical defects in the original legislation that weren't fixed in the first cleanup. So we have a second round of cleanup that the committee is going to recommend.
Little housekeeping bill?
Little housekeeping bill. Like, this is genuinely a little housekeeping bill. And so, because this comes from a committee, the motion from the committee is the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to provide for technical and conforming amendment cleanup to the OCGA as a result of the passage of House Bill 916 in 2022.
This comes from the committee and requires no second. Is there any discussion concerning the position on this bill?
I promise you, you do not want to discuss this.
If there's no discussion, is there any opposition? All right, it's supported. Next.
Council of Probate Court judges have a pretty sweeping cleanup and streamlining of probate court fees. It updates the fee schedule for the primary purpose of streamlining the fees to be able to implement e-filing. If you have any questions, Judge McCrae can help answer them. And so I would make the motion from the committee. The Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to update and streamline the probate court fee schedule.
Any questions? Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, the fee schedule legislation is approved. Next.
Council of Accountability Court judges have a proposal seeking to provide statutory authorization for the council to certify peer review juvenile drug and juvenile mental health courts under a newly defined umbrella of juvenile treatment courts, which are currently operating and receiving state funding. They already do this for other accountability courts as well. And so I would make the motion. The Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation authorizing the Council of Accountability Court judges to oversee certification and peer review processes for juvenile treatment courts as it does for the other accountability court types under its statutory purview.
You all know the certification and peer review process that we have for accountability courts really sets us apart across the country, makes us really an exemplar program in my opinion, and this would extend that sort of validity and process to our juvenile courts as well. Is there any discussion concerning this proposal that comes to us from the Accountability Courts Council? Hearing none, is there any opposition? Hearing none, it is approved. And last and final.
Every year, in advance of the legislative session, the Standing Committee on Legislation requests authority to act from this body, given the tight timelines that decisions have to be made during session. And so we're coming again for that request. The committee, the motion is the committee requests approval to make decisions or take positions on legislation and related policy issues on behalf of the Judicial Council during the 2024 legislative session when time constraints prevent the convening of the full Judicial Council.
You're all familiar with this traditional authority to act proposal. Is there any question concerning it? Any opposition? It is approved.
Thank you. The committee plans to meet again on Wednesday, November 15th, at which I anticipate we'll be considering some additional proposals that we will then bring to y'all at the next meeting. We continue to ask everyone to continue doing as you have so well. Share information, share legislative initiatives through the committee process, even if we think they only affect one class of court, so that we can speak with one voice and coordinate as a judicial branch. We're all on the same team, all trying to row in the same direction, and we're all stronger together. And appreciate all that you all do to help work up the street for the good of all the people of Georgia. Please, as always, reach out to me or Tracy Mason with any questions or feedback. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Presiding Justice Peterson. We really appreciate the work of the Legislation Committee, your leadership on that committee, and we thank Tracy and her team for following those bills for us across the street, so thank everyone for their work there. We'll next move to a presentation on budget for the Judicial Council. Justice Bethel will join us and present an overview. Your materials are found at tab 4 of your binders.
Thank you very much, Chief, and members of the Judicial Council. As I gather my notes, if you wanted to take this opportunity to yell at Judge Leonard, I guess now would be as good a time as any.
Just a little warm up.
I didn't see it on my agenda, but now that we've got permission, I bring to you the work of your Budget Committee, and will ask for 3 action items, Chief, during my presentation. The first thing I'll note, as the Chief said, the materials for this presentation are at tab 4 in your binders. You will also find there the fiscal report for fiscal 23, which was concluded. That doesn't require your action, but if you have any questions coming out of that, certainly welcome those, not just here today, but also obviously Mr. Zoll and I would be available to you going forward. First item of business is to discuss our request for enhancement in the amended fiscal year 24 budget. There are 3 requests that have been approved by the Budget Committee, and I will go through them briefly, but obviously make myself available for questions. The first is a $125,000 impact study funded on behalf of the Committee on Access to Justice. Many of you know that the Access to Justice Committee has been working for several years on looking for we call them law library resources, but of course they're not libraries like, books on a shelf libraries, but these are public self-help resource centers, and they would like to conduct a study about best practices around the nation in terms of making resources available to unrepresented individuals who come to court, and so that's the nature of that request. The second is a continuing request for funds related to medical legal partnerships. We originally requested, the council, that is, $619,000. The legislature, we are grateful for the $200,000 that they allocated. That is already being deployed, funding 2 partnerships, one with Atlanta Legal Aid in the metro Atlanta area, particularly linked to CHOA, and the pilot program they're starting with Grady in that respect. And then Georgia Legal Services is expanding a project in Macon and Waycross into the Savannah medical market. And obviously the idea behind those dollars is that they ultimately net a return on investment, a positive return on investment for the state, because the attorneys who are embedded in those environments are able to draw down resources for their clients and expedite sometimes departure from medical care and otherwise. And so the request there is for $419,000, which would be the balance of the original request on the medical legal partnerships. And then the last request for the amended is the Council of Municipal Court Judges has submitted an enhancement request in the amount of $18,951 that goes straight to their operations. The bulk of that is, so $16,000 is actually an effort to restore pre-pandemic allocations. They continue to work to chase that number where they were before. For reference, their state-funded budget still remains below where their fiscal year 2014 appropriation from the state was. The big need for the municipal court judges, I think, with respect to this, is that they have a strategic planning process that they are engaged in and need the resources. And so that's why I think the request is in the amended, as well as you'll hear in a minute in the full fiscal year request for 25. But they want to get initiated and started on that process. Such that, this is my first action item, Chief. The request would be for $562,951 in enhancements in the amended fiscal year budget, which would move the budget from $20,187,869 to $20,750,820. That would represent a 2.79% increase over the original approved budget.
And that's for the amended 24 budget. You all have heard the presentation. You're all also probably aware that OPB issued the budget instructions to all agencies last week, I believe it was, and authorized up to a 3% enhancement for all state agencies, which is a good sign relative to our budget and budget forecast. But this is below that 3%, which is a really good budget to present to them. I think at this time it would be a 2.79% enhancement over last year's budget. Is there any questions concerning the amended fiscal year 24 budget of the Judicial Council? Is there any opposition to approving it as presented? Hearing none, it is approved. You can now move to FY25, please.
Thank you, Chief. So some of these will sound familiar, but the first two in particular. This is just the $419,000 relative to medical legal partnerships. As most of you know, what you get if you were to get in the amended budget, it does not mean that goes into the full fiscal year's budget. So whether it's approved or not in the amended, we have to make the request with respect to the full fiscal year. But this is the same dollars that are being requested there. Same thing for the Council of Municipal Court Judges, $18,951 request that you'll see. The next one that is a new item for us to discuss, well, not really new. It's back again. It's a request we've made before and that you've approved before, but we didn't get funded. We were very grateful for the legislature funding a position with the Administrative Office of the Courts last year, but we did not get this project coordinator position that we had requested. We continue to have the need as it relates to the demand on our staff and our systems, particularly coming out of all of the COVID-19 extra administrative tasks that have arisen. And so that's where you see that request for a position. And I don't know that I said the number, $83,807 for the project coordinator position funds. The next item in the fiscal year 25 request that's been approved by the Budget Committee is $10,723. That is a request from the Council of Magistrate Court Judges. They find themselves in a budgetary position where, like most everyone, they're seeing increases in costs and trying to work their way through those demands. But it has gotten to the point in their budgetary process where they have to make choices between their existing operational budget and reimbursing members who are traveling to council-related activities. And so that's the request there for $10,723. Next is the Council of Accountability Court Judges, who are requesting $32,444. This is an effort to fully annualize the MAT, Medical Assisted Treatment, statewide coordinator position. Most of you who have followed this issue will recognize that this is a position that had been funded by federal grant dollars for several years. Those grant dollars mid-fiscal year expired. The legislature funded part of this position. This is just annualizing that into a full fiscal year budget. So this is just to sort of finish the process of bringing that position fully into the state budget. And then the last item that's approved by the Budget Committee, I have one other item, Chief, to address in this presentation is that the Resource Center, which I think most of you all recognize, is responsible for representation for those individuals facing capital punishment or on death row in Georgia, has requested for the first time in several years an enhancement of $100,000. This is designed for them to add a staff attorney. The salary for that position would actually be $75,000, but the 100 is capturing the fringe and associated benefits there. I won't give you all the details of the number of cases they're handling. I certainly will if anybody has any questions, but it's just the nature of request that they have demand for an additional staff attorney in their office. So one additional item that I want to include in the request, at the request of my court, in our process of budgeting, it came to our attention that the NCSC, National Council. National Center for State Courts, excuse me, dues that are paid on behalf of all the courts of the state of Georgia had migrated into our courts, and I don't know how many years ago. It was originally in, or at some point in AOC's budget, and it migrated into our court's budget. It certainly is, appropriate that the resources be allocated to the home for all courts. And so this would be a true left pocket, right pocket. In other words, just dollar for dollar, the dues that are coming from the Supreme Court's budget and entering the budget of the Judicial Council. And that number, Chief, is $273,470. So to summarize the request as it relates to fiscal year 25, what I'll call operations requests, which are projects of the members of the Judicial Council Administrative Office of the Court, so it's not really just the AOC's budget. What I mean with respect to the requests from the council, various councils included, is $245,925. That represents 1.22% of the Judicial Council's existing budget. The request for the medical legal partnerships, which is a separate piece, is the $419,000. That actually is 2.08%. So those two aggregated is 3.29%. But again, the operational piece would be inside of the 3% that we're all targeting this year. And then adding the NCSC piece would be $938,395. That would represent 4.65%. But again, to reiterate, that's just a left pocket, right pocket. It's coming straight out of the Supreme Court's budget, and we would zero that line out of our budget. So if that's clear enough, I'd present that as a motion with respect to fiscal year 25, that we approve an enhancement of $938,395 over fiscal year's 24's budget for 4.65%, a total budget of $21,126,264.
And that would include the operational portion of the Judicial Council budget, the medical legal partnerships portion, and also transferring the NCSC into the Judicial Council budget.
Yes, sir.
And notwithstanding that would represent a 4.65% enhancement request from the Judicial Council budget overall, there is a good explanation for the right pocket, left pocket transfer of the $273,000 from one budget to another. I think we'll be okay with that. I will say, having handled this budget for years myself, Cynthia and her staff, I think, do more with less than anybody in the state. And I will say, they've always been good fiscal stewards, and I think that's recognized across the street, and we've been pretty good with handling this money in a way that's very appropriate. So I appreciate the budget presentation. Does anybody have any questions concerning the FY25 enhancement request as presented? Is anybody opposed to approving that budget as presented? Hearing none, it is approved.
Chief, the last action item in this report that I have for you is similar to the presiding justice, a request for authority to act on behalf of the committee. And I can give you the perfect example of why this applies. Most of you probably know that the JQC's budget actually rolls into our budget, but we don't touch it. And so in other words, we just pass it along through, and even when we present to the legislature, we allow them to present in their own right. We don't have those numbers reflected, so that we will need to include it in our ultimate submission that goes there. And so we are requesting the Standing Committee on Budget requests approval to make decisions or take positions on legislation and related policy issues on behalf of the Judicial Council during the 2024 legislative session. When time constraints prevent the convening of the Judicial Council, this request is also made for any special session of the General Assembly that may be called during the balance of calendar year 2023. And I would present that in a form of a motion on behalf of the committee.
Any question concerning the ordinary authority to act provision? Any objection? It's approved. Thank you, Justice Bethel, for the budget presentation. You're also next on the agenda. Item D, tab 5 is the material for the Judicial Salaries and Supplement Committee presentation. And I want to thank you before you present, you and Judge Rusty Smith for your leadership, for the committee's work. You've done a great job in updating the 2016 compensation report. We really appreciate the effort that you've made, and we appreciate the leadership of Judge John Morse, Ann Harris, and the leadership team at the Council of Superior Court Judges. So with that, if you'll please present.
Thank you, Chief. You've stolen some of my thank yous.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I do appreciate that, and I want to reiterate a couple of those points. First, I just want to recognize publicly the voting members of the committee, some of whom are members of the Judicial Council. Judge Rusty Smith co-chaired this committee with me and worked tirelessly, and I'm very thankful for his efforts. Vice Chief Trent Brown and Judge Hamrick, who succeeded Judge Walt Davis, who was also a member of our committee until leaving the statewide business court. Judges Jeff Kite and Greg Poole were essential to our work in not just development of our plan, but throughout. Honorable Darius Patillo was representative for the district attorneys, Director Ali for the Public Defender Council, and then Mr. O'Quinn, Michael O'Quinn, for ACCG on behalf of them. We had advisory members as well, and in the interest of time, I will refer only to Judge, I can't stop calling you Judge, Tony Del Campo, who is a member of this group. But we had representatives from really very active advisory committee members from across the state and across the judiciary, and I really do appreciate all of their hard work. I'll have to track down John Kennedy, because he really is the one who needs to hear this more than the rest, and Representative Hong as well. But I don't want to consume you got a busy agenda, and I don't want to consume your time, but I do think it's important to lay the framework of how we got this committee in the first place. The issue of judicial compensation has a long and interesting history within Georgia government and Georgia politics. In your materials, you should have access to the 2016 Legislative Committee's report. And I would point you to that report if you want to speak sort of historically and contextually about how we developed into the system that we have today. The committee that then Chief Justice Namias created was tasked with updating the 16 legislative report and bringing those numbers up to date, but also looking to make it more comprehensive in its coverage and detail. And then looking for a possibility to a proposal that would alleviate what I think is perceived of as a challenge within our system, which is the way that we have grown up around local supplements. So I want to echo the thank yous that the chief made, and I'll add Judge Art Smith, who was Judge Morse's predecessor and was certainly helpful to us. But most importantly, people who like attention, perhaps even less than Chief Mercier, Tracy Mason and Andrew Zoll, who were the designated staff for this committee, put in a lot of time and effort on our behalf, and I really appreciate their work. And so I don't want to miss the opportunity to thank them in this setting. When we were in Columbus, I presented to you the initial report of this committee. And that initial report was primarily focused on the updating effort, so like making sure that we had good data, current data. And then since then, we have met as a full committee multiple times. We have met as working groups. We've met informally. The vice chief and I at the state bar meeting had a breakfast. And so we just a lot of conversations, as you might imagine, to get to a proposal that ultimately was submitted to the Superior Court bench. You will remember when we discussed this last time, the charge to the committee was to find a proposal that garnered a supermajority of the Superior Court bench before presenting it to this body for consideration. I will summarize the proposal. You've got it. I don't want to read it to you, but that proposal came out of a lot of conversation, a survey of the Superior Court bench, what we ultimately presented was a result of a request and a grant by the chief, which we appreciate was an extension of time for our committee to finalize the report and get it in front of the Superior Court bench down at Jekyll, which I certainly want to, again, thank Judge Morse and his team for facilitating and accommodating. The plan does several things. I think the most important things to make sure are summarized in this presentation is it creates a base rate structure. In other words, there's a connectivity to, there's a rate that we want to tie ourselves to from a compensation standpoint. In the interest of having the opportunity for periodic and regular increases in judicial compensation, it connects to a rate that is by design moving. Also, to respect the role of our legislature and their constraints against binding future legislatures, it makes the all increases subject to appropriation, not an automatic escalator, so that the legislature, as is required, always controls the rate of movement. The proposal itself would end, if adopted as presented, in taking our rank relative to our sister states. And again, these are the January of 2023 numbers. The National Center updates in July. We don't have those numbers. We will obviously keep track of them. They're not going down, so our ranks would not be higher than the numbers I'm going to give you. They may be lower. We currently find ourselves where our Superior Court judges, with respect to their state pay, the amount that's paid by the state of Georgia, rank 45th in the nation. The Supreme Court ranks 35th, and the Court of Appeals ranks 23rd. The implemented proposal that you have in your packet would see the state rate move for the Supreme Court to 12th, the General Jurisdiction Trial Court, the Superior Court, to 11th, and our Court of Appeals would be 8th. And again, we are the 8th most populous state. We think the model makes sense in terms of relative groups and peer sets. We would eliminate the current construction for local supplements, and then we would have what we call a locality pay, which would be intended to account for cost of living differential, but it would be no greater than 10% of the state appropriated salary. The plan calls for an opt-in structure so that any judge who would not want to be a part of this structure would be able to retain their exact same existing compensation structure. But of course, new judges appointed after the implementation of the plan would be on the plan. We would grandfather in local benefits that are vested for judges, and so that they would be protected in that right. And then we would also propose the creation of a standing commission on compensation in this space at the state level. That is to say, for the legislature to create a commission that continues to review these issues on an ongoing basis. We recognized as a committee that there is a need beyond the state employed judiciary that is substantial and significant and deserves the attention of the state, and this is, I think, a good first step in doing that. The results of the Superior Court poll have been publicized. You may have seen them, but they were very favorable. We had all but 8 of the Superior Court bench participated, so 96% response rate. Of those that voted, 90%, which they represent 86% of the sitting Superior Court judges, active Superior Court judges, voted in favor of it. I said in our committee meeting, and it bears repeating now, as a simple matter of math, it's an anonymous ballot, but as a simple matter of math, that means a majority of judges who do not stand to see any sort of definitive raise. In other words, like there's no guarantee of an increase in compensation. A majority of those judges voted for the proposal. And I personally am gratified by that because a lot of times in this space, the assumptions that people make are that everybody is going to work only in their own interest, and it reflects a bench that I think is interested in the collective benefit of the judiciary in Georgia, and I'm thankful for that. So the committee then presents that in the form of a final report to this committee, or to the council rather. As I mentioned in the initial report, and as I just said, there are persistent obstacles in this space that do definitely need attention. I don't want them to go unnoticed, and many of our advisory members of our committee have issues that they want addressed, and we couldn't find an answer to include in the form of a full proposal, but they again unanimously supported the ultimate proposal, and I'm thankful for that as well. Having completed our task, Chief, the committee presents this as its final report. As contemplated in the report and on behalf of a unanimous committee, I present as a motion to the Judicial Council that the council accept the report and adopt the committee's recommendations made therein as official positions of the Judicial Council, and that the proposal be made a legislative priority of the Judicial Council, notwithstanding the presiding justice presentation earlier in this meeting.
Are there questions? Is there any opposition to the motion as presented? Hearing none, it's approved. Justice Beth, thank you for the presentation. We are very grateful for the work of your entire committee. Judge Brown, others that that were on your committee. It was a broad group. Tony Del Campo, thank you for your leadership from the State Bar's perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yay.
We next move to my colleague, Justice Sean LaGrua, who will present on the report from the Technology Committee. The materials are found at tab 6.
Security first.
Oh, I'm sorry, security first, tab 5. Well, you have both. You can.
Just make it.
I have my colleague, Judge Kelly, for technology to assist me.
That's a smart move. All right, Judicial Security Committee.
Thank you, Chief. In February, as many of you know, the Chief Justice created the Judicial Council Standing Committee on Judicial Security and gave me the privilege of chairing it along with my co-vice chair, Judge Rickman, on the Court of Appeals. The committee is made up of members of every class of court as voting members, and there are a number of advisory members to assist us, as David Amati said, ethics, the Secretary of State, the Governor's Office, the Lieutenant Governor's Office, all the way down through Chiefs of Police, Sheriffs, DOC, Municipal Association, ACCG, et cetera. And most of those organizations are to assist us in identifying agency issues. We had our first full meeting here at the court on April 18th of this year. Following the meeting, we created 2 subcommittees within the standing committee. The first is procedural and legislation. The second is training and situational awareness. Since then, we've had a number of follow-up meetings, both as a group and with the subcommittees. The Training and Situational Awareness Subcommittee has been working on designing security training for judges across all classes of court. In that regard, that subcommittee traveled to Forsyth to the Georgia Public Safety Training Center to meet with the director, Chief Chris Wigington, and his team about formal security training for judges and law enforcement that interact with judges. As the training center for the law enforcement across the state, it seemed like a perfect match to assist us with this project. The they have graciously agreed at the training center to build a training that we plan to have available to roll out to all classes of court starting in January with your semi-annual trainings. This will be an ongoing project. Chief Wigington and his crew have agreed to attend each of the Council of Courts semi-annual trainings to assist and give that training. They have also agreed to do follow-up training at Forsyth. We will also begin working with Chief Wigington and other experts in the state to identify gaps in security throughout the classes of courts so that we can look at resources and solutions to any major issues that are identified. The Procedural and Legislative Subcommittee has been gathering information from across the state, identifying all the agencies, both statewide and locally, that maintain personal identifying information of judges and their spouses, as well as reviewing legislation addressing record restriction across the country. We anticipate a further update on this piece at the next Judicial Council meeting in November. If you have any thoughts or concerns, suggestions, ideas, please do not hesitate to contact me and Judge Rickman. Chief, I thank you for your leadership. This is a hugely important topic in this time. I think we have had not a single negative comment about you initiating this. In fact, it has all been positive, and folks are excited that we are addressing this. So thanks for your leadership in this important area and giving me the responsibility of assisting you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We appreciate the report and appreciate the hard work of the committee and look forward to your deliverables and your final report. With that, we will now move to Judge Steve Kelly, who's going to present on the Technology Committee item tab 6. And while he's coming up, I also want to thank Judge Russ McClellan and Judge LaGrua for their work to lead the COVID-19 task force. They've completed their work. You all were the benefactors of a lot of that work. Want you to know, Judge McClellan, Justice LaGrua, how much we appreciate the work of the committee. They've submitted their final report, and they were very helpful throughout the last 3 years as we tried to navigate ourselves and your courts through the difficulties of remote proceedings and moving cases where required. So thank you for that. With that, Judge Kelly, you have an oral report as well as a written report, I think.
We do. We have a written report, goes a little more detail for those who are geeks and want to get a little more into some of this technology stuff. There's always a lot happening in technology. Turn on the news every day and see things that are going on. We had the technology just recently met, and we one of the things that was pointed out to us that this committee spent a lot of time, about 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, dealing with, maybe longer than that, it's been a while, on electronic filing. And it was pointed out by, I think, Judge Altman on our committee that we needed to go back and recommend to you guys we need to go back and look at those. We had a single signer sign-on. And I'm not going to go into what all that meant for the portal on electronic filing standards. We have this body put out statewide minimum standards for rules for electronic filing. I'm sure y'all are up to date and look at those all the time. But I just want to recommend we think some of those need to be, we voted to actually remove the single sign-on since that never even came into existence. But I think the proper procedure would be to Justice Peterson to get down into the weeds on this and with us and on the rules, and there might be some other things that need to be looked at also on that. So certainly want to make that recommendation to the council, but no vote today. Also, we made great progress on the protective order registry forms. They got beta testing going on throughout the state on that. For those of you not sure exactly what that is, the state, you've heard of temporary restraining orders. Well, the state expanded that to bond hearings, and you know, if we have somebody with conditions and stuff, but did not, since all our legislator folks left, but they did not explain how we were going to get this done, or once somebody came off a bond, or if they were never accused, and how that would come off of GCIC. So it has been a long process trying to work with GCIC. They've rolled. I think they've done a great job rolling that out. Judge Altman, Sheila Studdard, AOC team, and Judge Emerson, they worked on this for years, literally years. Now they've got several counties that are working through the forms, and And so we'll keep you up to date on that. But finally, maybe we'll have some resolution to that. Other issues that are on written report, of course, are data collection submissions. We have AOC has come up with a virtual calendar call, so anybody in here is a judge, no matter what type of court you have, if you're interested in having a virtual calendar call, it's just instead of just having lawyers email you, see me or see Ben Luke over here. We'd love to assign you. It's in beta right now. We've got several places testing that out. Simple little tool that can really help judges no matter what class of court you're in. And I think that's very, very, very good and part of our mission as a technology commission. Also, the AOC IT team has been sending out notices for training. They've done training for Word, Excel, and a few other things, and they've been very, very successful. And so keep your eye on that when they send out a great newsletter this past time, which outlines all that. And with that, that's my report. If you have any questions,
We appreciate the report.
Still expecting one question someday, one time, but
Well,
maybe it'll happen before I.
Comment, not a question, which is that as we think about technology, I view it as really the next iterative step in improving access to justice. The things we learned through COVID that were all technology-based are very important. Data, driving policy, and driving judicial decision-making, ensuring public safety is all very important and I think connected. And so I appreciate your service on the committee, as we start thinking about AI in the courts and those sorts of things.
I forgot to mention that we are actually going to start looking at some of those issues with AI. There's some really nice stuff that's going to, I think, enhance the judicial system, but then there's scary stuff out there too. So it's both good and bad.
Well, we appreciate your leadership.
Thank y'all.
Really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Next, we will hear from Judge Rob Leonard, who's going to present on the work of the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee. Those materials are likewise found in your binders behind tab 7.
The first thing I should do is probably apologize in advance to David Amati in the highly likely event that your invitation to that Lawyers Club bourbon tasting gets lost. Sorry about that. Yeah, the materials are in tab 7. If you want to flip over to those, what I would like to do is just begin because we've got some new members, and I want to give you like a 60-second high-level view of what happens at JWAC and what this formula looks like. So ever so often, there's a time and motion study, and all classes of courts are asked to participate in that, and we track what judges do. So you're keeping time like you're a lawyer in private practice, right? And so you do that. And you've got all your different case types, and all of this information is given to the National Center for State Courts. National Center for State Courts partners with us in coming up with the methodology as well as the case weights. And then we go into smaller groups, and judges give feedback about whether or not we think that minute value for that particular case type, represents a good average. And those numbers get tweaked. We are fresh off one of those time and motion studies, and this will be the first presentation since we've adopted the new case weights. You might recall in Columbus, we approved those here at that last meeting. And then as well, there was a policy change to allow for electronic voting. So I won't bury the lead on that. If you saw Judge Mercier when she came out of that 25-minute or so deliberation and tabulation, she looked like she'd been wrestling an alligator back there. And so Trent Brown will not have to do that. If you'll notice in the front of your materials, you'll see in there's a little QR code to scan. The voting will be electronic today for the voting members of the Judicial Council, and it's already been tested. And as long as Murphy's Law doesn't strike us like sometimes does on technology, Judge Kelly, then it will be calculated, and you'll have a much faster result. But back to the time and motion study, that was completed. All of those case types, the case counts get reported. Clerks of court report all that to the AOC. AOC takes those case types and the numbers of cases in each circuit, applies the new case weights to it, and comes up with a formula known as the judge workload value. At 1.20 per the policy here that's been approved by Judicial Council, your circuit would then qualify for a new judgeship. You will see that there will be 6 of those new circuits, and there will be 3 holdover circuits as well that have already previously qualified. Once you get approved, you get a 3-year approval where you don't have to keep coming back and asking again. So that's kind of the high-level view of what it looks like. We report out now to the 100th, 1.20 is where it used to be 1.2. You get a little bit more bunching, so I think that'll be a little bit more meaningful for you. This is Stephanie Hines. She's going to present the nitty-gritty of the numbers, and we will both field any questions should you have any. But I like the streak we got going here with the no questions. We'll see.
Don't jinx it.
We'll see.
Welcome, Stephanie.
Good morning, Chief, Presiding Justice, and members of the Judicial Council. So today, I want to share with you or present to you the 2022 judgeships. The judgeship requests displayed before you are based upon their workload values. And the workload assessments include the new time and motion study weights, as Judge Leonard just mentioned. These were approved in April 2023. Today, the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee recommends 6 new judgeship requests and 3 carryover or held over circuits. By that, again, I mean those circuits that have received prior approval for consideration by this committee, by this council. The 6 new circuits are Tifton qualifying at 1.41, the Houston Judicial Circuit qualifying at 1.40, the Northern Judicial Circuit qualifying at 1.25, Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit qualifying at 1.25, and Tallapoosa qualifying at 1.25. And Alapaha qualifying at 1.24. First up is the Tifton Judicial Circuit. It is a 4-county circuit comprised of Irwin, Tift, Turner, and Worth counties, and has 2 sitting judges. The population is estimated to be about 79,804. The circuit received its last judgeship in 1980, which is about roughly 43 years ago, and has a 3-year caseload average of 1.41. This chart displayed is a display of the circuit's population trend. Since its last judgeship, the circuit has seen about a 15% population increase, or roughly increase of about 10,000 people in population. The current population trends are higher than the state's county average population of about 68,634, which is about a 16% difference, as one might expect with natural progression and growth. Next up is the Houston Judicial Circuit, which is a single county circuit, requesting its 4th judge. The total population is about 169,631, and the last judgeship was added in 2007. The circuit 3-year caseload average per judge is 1,406, and the current judge workload value is 1.40. In terms of Houston's population trends, since its last judgeship, it has seen substantial population growth of approximately 28%, or roughly 37,000 people. There is a little more, and that's a little more than double than the Georgia County average, population average, which is represented by the red line. Northern Judicial Circuit is a multi-county circuit comprised of 5 counties: Elbert, Franklin, Hart, Madison, Oglethorpe, and Oglethorpe counties. The circuit is re-requesting after their previous recommendation expired. There are 3 judges in the circuit, and the last judge was added in 1995. The total population is about 117,793. The circuit's 3-year caseload average per judge is 1,960, and the circuit's current workload value is 1.25. Northern's population trend has seen a steady growth as well, about 15% since over the 28-year span. The circuit's population is much higher than the Georgia County average population by roughly 72%. Next up is the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit, which is a single county circuit consisting of DeKalb County, and it seeks to add its 11th judge. The county or circuit's population is estimated to be 762,820. The circuit's last judgeship was added in 1998, and the 3-year caseload average per judge is 1,498. The current judge workload value is 1.25. Stone Mountain's population has seen an upward tick or increase of about 18%. However, the increase measures at over 1,000% higher, or 700,000 more people than the state county average population, and that again is the red line. Tallapoosa Judicial Circuit includes, it's a two circuit county consisting of Haralson and Polk counties. The circuit seeks a 3rd judge. The total population is estimated to be approximately 75,046. The last judgeship was added in 2003 due to a circuit alteration. The circuit's current judge workload value is 1.25, and this is their updated judicial workload value due to the inclusion of a 2019 death penalty case. Tallapoosa's population has seen, or rather maintained, a steady growth of about 13% over since its last judgeship through 2022, and it still remains higher than the Georgia County average population. Alapaha Judicial Circuit is comprised of 5 counties: Atkinson, Berrien, Clinch, Cook, and Lanier counties. There are 2 judges in the circuit, and the last judge was added in 1977. I think the chief judge mentioned when Governor Busby was in office, so it's been quite a while. The population is 60,634. The 3-year caseload average per judge is 2,121, and the judge workload value is 1.24. Since its last judgeship, the Alapaha Judicial Circuit has seen a population shift or growth of approximately 36% or 37,000 people. This is slightly below the state county average as seen, but yet there is an increase of about 900 since 2017. Next, I present the 3 standing judgeship recommendations, as you see displayed on the screen. They are listed by their judge workload value as well. We have the Douglas Judicial Circuit, which qualified in 2022, and its current judge workload value is 1.36. The Clayton Judicial Circuit was recommended in 2020, and its current judge workload value is a 1.34. And we have Augusta Judicial Circuit qualifying in 2022, and its current judge workload value is a 1.32. Give you some additional information about these three circuits. Douglas County is a single county circuit requesting a fourth judge. The last judgeship was added in 1998. The current population is roughly 147,316. And Douglas County, 3-year caseload average per judge is 2,099, and the judge workload value, as I just mentioned, is 1.36. In terms of population growth, there's been substantial growth in the circuit of about 65%, which is almost double that of the Georgia County average population. Clayton Judicial Circuit is another single county circuit requesting the addition of a sixth judge. The population is 296,564. The last judgeship was added in 2017, and the 3-year caseload average per judge is 1,718. And their current judge workload value is 1.34. Clayton, I would like to add, is in its last year of consideration based on the recommendations approved by this committee and also the Judicial Council. During the period of COVID, the Judicial Council committee the Judicial Council granted all qualifying circuits an additional year. So Clayton was one of those circuits. Clayton's population trend. Since 2017, the population has increased by a little more than 4%, but it's seen about a 332% increase that's higher than the Georgia County average population. Augusta Judicial Circuit is comprised of 2 counties, Burke and Richmond County. Its last judge was added in 2002, and the current population is about 231,28. The 3-year caseload average per judge is 1,781, and the current workload value, again, is 1.32. It previously qualified in 2022. Augusta's population trends, as evidenced from the chart, there's been somewhat of a downward shift in the Augusta circuit population. This can be seen attributable to, in part, due to the circuit boundary alteration that occurred in 2021 with the creation of the Columbia Judicial Circuit. Although it has experienced somewhat of a downward trend, the circuit's population is 237% higher than the Georgia County average population. So at this point in our process, we will ask the chief judges of each circuit present to please come forth and give a presentation in support of their circuit.
And before we do that, I just want to add one thing, just so all the members of the Judicial Council know, the 3 circuits that were carryovers, Douglas, Augusta, and Clayton, all qualified before the new time and motion study. Those numbers have been updated to reflect the new case weights, right? So you'll be able to compare apples to apples here. All of those numbers have been adjusted. So what you're seeing there is everybody's present.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Stephanie. Before we get to the Chief Judge presentations, I'm going to pause this presentation for 2 seconds and let And no more than 2 seconds. And let Tony Del Campo present. He is on our agenda on item 10 to report from the courts, councils, and the State Bar. As you all know, Tony is the new president of the State Bar of Georgia, and he's going to have to leave us. And I want to give you a chance, before you leave, to give some remarks.
Judge, thank you so much for that flexibility, and thank you guys for that as well. It is an honor and a privilege to have been sworn in as a member of this Judicial Council. And I want to take a moment of personal privilege to thank each and every one of you for the work that you do to ensure that justice is served in our state. The State Bar stands ready to assist you in any way that we can. And along those lines, having been a former, or being a former judge, I understand the trials and tribulations of judicial salaries. So I will do everything I can to support any effort to address those issues going forward. I was asked to give sort of my view for the next year, for my bar year, and I'm going to do that and try to keep it short. I want to first focus on our physical space. As many of you know, we have a new Savannah office that is being used, plenty of parking now, and it's a great space for lawyers who practice down there or lawyers who have things to do in Savannah area. We also have a Tifton office that's getting a lot of use as well, and we were able to get some upgrades and renovations paid by the landlord there. The biggest, obviously, item is our office space in 104 Marietta Street, our bar center. And I want to focus on that because we've created a 4-year plan that places emphasis on the critical infrastructure expenses for update and repair. We purchased the building was built in 1960. And we began the purchasing process in 1997, and we moved in 2001. We actually paid off our bar building in 2010. Some of you may have been in that ceremony at the State Bar when we paid it off. But when we purchased the building, we did an analysis of the systems, and they told us then that they had a 15 to 25-year lifespan, which we are right at the tail end of that. So the first year we'll be focusing on operating system, really exciting stuff, circuit breaker replacement, conference center video capabilities, and replacement of building access systems for enhanced compliance and improved security. Eventually, we're also going to have to replace the windows, as well as the cooling towers and the HVAC systems. So that's with regard to the building. The second thing that we are going to focus on this year is our website. As many of you know, our website's getting a little old and dated. And so we have started the request for proposals process, and we're actually going to get those today is the final date for submission. We expect to get 5 or 6 proposals, and we will be making those decisions. And the expectation is that we will have our new website by the annual meeting of next year. The third thing that I want to focus on is continue on attorney wellness. As all of you know, the legal profession is a very stressful profession, and I want to continue focusing on mental health and well-being. As some of you may know, during our annual meeting, we voted to create a State Bar Center for Lawyer Well-Being. And that center will serve as an umbrella for the efforts regarding wellness in one place, and it will include the Attorney Wellness Committee, the Suicide Awareness and Prevention Committee, the Senior Lawyers Committee, among others. And I also want to focus on our efforts to use your 6. As many, if not all of you know, the State Bar provides 6 free counseling sessions to all members of the bar, and is completely confidential. And is paid for by the State Bar, and I want to encourage all the lawyers of the state to take advantage of that. So to the extent that you have the ability to make that in any presentations that you give, we certainly would appreciate that. Lastly, we're going to be working with the Office of General Counsel to improve the grievance process. Jenny Middleman, who has served as a Deputy General Counsel, is retiring. We've already began the process of hiring a new Deputy General Counsel. We've narrowed down the applicants to 3, and we will be interviewing those folks in the next few weeks. So thank you, Judge, and thank you for your flexibility in taking me early. I do have to leave early. They put an event on my calendar that I'm speaking at the Gwinnett County Bar Association, so I apologize if I leave a little early today. But thank you, Judge. That is my report.
We really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. We're blessed in this state to have had some really great leadership at the State Bar. We have a great relationship with the State Bar. Tony is going to continue that legacy, and those of you that haven't had an opportunity to meet Tony, he is a really thoughtful and innovative and considerate leader. You're really going to enjoy his leadership. Tony, thank you for all you're doing to support us, and we'll excuse you now so you can get on to your speech, but we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll go back to the item on the agenda that we were on, and Chief Judge Reinhardt, I think, is up. Come on, Judge. Welcome.
Mr. Chief Justice, nice to see you. Thank you. Council members, thank y'all for hearing from me today. The Tifton Judicial Circuit is making its first appearance and request for a new judge in 43 years. Since 1980, a Busby appointee, Judge Dickie Crosby, joined the bench, and since then, we have covered our 4 counties with 2 judges. Judge Melanie Cross and I man those spots now. Most of that 43 years that we have gone without a new judge, I think, was probably spent working with our clerks, learning how to count the cases. That was quite a chore. They're great people, but we finally got that process perfected. Y'all, we have in our circuit 3 accountability courts, drug courts, 2 PAC courts. Our population growth since the last judicial ship, I guess, or judgeship set up has grown. My figures based on the census were about 20%. 15% may be more likely. However, our case counts are just exploding. 75 is a great economic lifeline for Tift County. Tift and Turner, 2 of our counties, sit on 75. Worth and Irwin are on either side of the interstate. We get a lot of local option sales tax off that interstate, but we also get a lot of negative things. Our drug trafficking cases have exploded. Our murder cases have exploded. We have, right now, Judge Cross and I are responsible for the last count when we put this together for the presentation to the committee was 18 murder cases apiece, and we've had 6 murders, y'all, in our circuit since that time. The point is, just like all of you, the Tifton Circuit is no different from you. Our criminal cases are overwhelming what we're able to provide to the citizens. It is so frustrating, y'all. We do have 3 state courts that we try to make every lawyer aware of. Your civil cases can go down there if you need something in a hurry because we cannot handle it. Some don't take advantage of that. We have 1 full-time state court judge in our circuit, 2 part-time state court judges. But it affects us now, not in just workload and being tired and being grumpy the next morning after you show back up for court when you got out at 7:30 the night before. It is an access to justice issue for us. Some of the most important stuff we do, y'all, of course, is custody cases. And they need as much attention or more than anything else. And we're just not able to provide it. And we need some help. Our citizens need some help. I think our number there is solid. Our case counts are good. I think you're the best committee chairman this council has ever seen. I don't know why anybody would ever question your leadership or your competence. It's just overwhelming to me. But we should have, I did notice, we have had a little downturn in population. It's a rural area, y'all. People come and go. It's transient. I used to sit and strike juries, and I would know 80% of the people on the jury list, and those days are over. We have to serve jury summons to about 300 people to get 75 to show up because everybody's moved, and that's no different from any of you. Our problems are not any different from yours, but we feel like it's our turn. After 43 years, everybody on that list is deserving. There's no question about it. ours is no more important than anybody else on that list, but I hope the council and wish the council could recommend them all. But I'm happy to take any questions y'all may have, but that's where we sit and need your help.
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate the presentation.
Okay. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
I don't see any. Thank you, Judge. Houston County, Chief Judge Ed Lukemeyer.
And members of the council, thank you for giving us a couple of minutes to talk to you. Judge Reinhardt, I appreciate your comments about we all need it, because we all need it. I do want to introduce Judge Lumsden is here, Judge Adams is here. We're here to solicit your help. As has been indicated by the graph, our request is based primarily on population increase. We're continuing to grow, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. We are the most populous county in Middle Georgia now. For the last 2 years, we had about a 3.7 or 3.8% growth. It's going on and on. You may not know, but Robins Air Force Base is located in the Houston Circuit. That is the largest single-site employer in the state, and it's not going anywhere. Well, it's as best any of us could know. It has survived several of the BRAC Commission rounds, and in fact has picked up some missions as a result of other base closures and downsizing. So that's the engine, obviously, for the Middle Georgia area and certainly for our county. Our DA's office, our public defender's office, they are fully staffed. In fact, I just heard that our county commissioners have funded yet another ADA position, which is great, but we're just trying to keep up with them. We have 4 conflict attorneys that the county has funded as well. We also have some accountability courts, mental health accountability court, parental accountability court, probation day report drug program. Judges Lumsden and Adams do a great job in handling those. We don't use senior judges or other judges for that. They take care of that. We do have the support of our county commissioners, our sheriff, public defender, DA, our local delegation. I hope you have those letters in your packet. I was a little tardy in getting one of them to you, but I hope you have it in any event. When our courthouse was built, I still call it the new courthouse. It's been in existence 22 years now. Time passes so quickly. It was just Judge Nunn and myself when we went into the new courthouse. But our commissioners had the foresight to build for the future. And so we have a 4th courtroom and a 4th chambers and office suite already in place. So that will require no new construction or cost in that regard. We just spent several $1 million on a case management system, It's been a work in progress. We just went online a couple of months ago. We are in what Judge Lumsden calls the transition phase. I have another word for it, but they're helping me. They're bringing me along a little at a time. So things are in place. We have a tremendous population growth, and we really would solicit your help. I've had an opportunity to talk to most of you. I missed some of you, and I'm sorry, but we need your help if you can help us with the additional judgeship. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Chief. We appreciate your presentation and your service. Next on the list, Chief Judge McClain. Welcome.
Well, I need to start by buttering up the Chief Justice a little bit and bragging. My son Peter heard you speak at Georgia State University Law School the other day. He's a 1L. He's my number 3 son, and I'm very proud of him. But talking about Douglas County, I'm like all the other judges. I feel very awkward saying we need something more than somebody else needs it, because we all need a lot of help. But I'm kind of like on the fence about Judge Leonard. I love him right now, but I may not love him in a few minutes. Because of his work and the work of everyone on his team, I just want to point out with regard to those figures that Douglas County ranks #1 in carryover circuits based upon workload value. And we also rank number 1 in number of cases per judge in carryover circuits at 2,099 cases. But look at Douglas County compared to the entire list. We rank 3 in the entire list on workload value, and we rank 2 on the entire list in cases per judge. And I'm led to believe that these figures are very crucial and very critical to the council's decision. I wasn't able to be here last time because I was laying in bed with COVID for the second time, and so I decided not to bring that to you last year, but I'm doing fine now. A point I want to make about that, I'm just going to hit some bullet points and then sit down. That figure of 2,099 cases per judge per year is myself, Judge Cynthia Adams, who's with me today to make sure I don't mess this up, and Judge Dia Warren, who's a newly appointed judge. We don't have any help to do those 2,099 cases. We don't have senior judges or designated judges. We have, if we get recused, a judge comes in, but I want to make it clear that we are handling all of those cases. And there's no magistrates or designated judges that are handling those cases. I know some circuits are blessed with that advantage. I also want to say that I feel like Zell Miller was just as good a governor as George Busby, and that's the last time we got a judge, 1998, long time ago. Douglas County, as you've seen by the figures, has about doubled in growth since we last got a judge. And we've got some things going on. I'm not the Chamber of Commerce, but I will tell you that Lionsgate Motion Pictures is building a movie studio in Douglas County right now. And so that's going to be huge. There's going to be a Westin Hotel and Resort in south of the county near Fulton County. That's going to be huge. We've got an amphitheater under construction in Douglasville. We've got a performing arts center under construction in Douglasville. So we expect a lot of growth. Dahlia Racine, our DA, in her letter to this committee, mentioned our drug court, which myself and Judge Adams run. And I just want to say a couple quick things about our drug court that make it a little different. We're one of the few courts in the state that runs MAT. We're the only drug court in the state that I know of that has its own housing program that I built. I run 2 houses, and I've got 18 apartments that I helped construct that we house our drug court people in. We also have a BGA grant to run an opiate track, and I meet with about 20 opiate addicts twice a week, plus meeting with my drug court population on Fridays. So we're very active in that sphere. Concluding point. It was a moment for me to walk in this building and see all those pictures on the wall, because I have 43 years of experience working for the state of Georgia, starting as an intern at the Prosecuting Attorneys Council, then being ADA and Chief ADA in 2 circuits, and then judge and chief judge in Douglas County. And from that vantage point of 43 years, and Douglas County being part of the Metro Atlanta, everything's changed from the way it used to be. Someone is shot in our county every week. And whether or not it turns into a homicide depends on how well Grady does with the trauma center. Things are different. We have, unfortunately, a lot of violence. We have what I refer to as urban crime. We have the kind of crimes that Fulton County has, and DeKalb County has, and Cobb County has, Gwinnett County has, and Clayton County has. Huge change for us. I'm going to leave you with 72 hours in Douglas County last week. Last week, during the 72-hour period, we had a barricaded suspect holding his family hostage with an AR-15 rifle. And our deputies had to crash into the house with a Bearcat. They took fire from the AR-15. They shot and wounded the suspect. Fortunately, nobody died. Within a few hours of that, we had deputies had to confront another suspect in a domestic, and they exchanged gunfire with the suspect. Ultimately, it turned into a murder-suicide, and the suspect killed herself and killed some members of her family. And then a few hours after that, our detectives had to go to Clayton County, Fulton County, and North Carolina to get 3 more murder suspects. I have 2 mass shootings assigned to me. In one of them, 1 child was killed and 6 children were shot. I have another one, another mass shooting, where 2 children were killed and 8 were shot. And we all can talk about the tragedies and the crimes that happen in our jurisdictions. I'm very aware, 43 years into this, that we all face these kind of issues. The driving point I'm trying to make to all of you is this is different for Douglas County, and we need help. And we would appreciate it if we could have 4 judges doing the work of 4 judges instead of 3 judges doing the work of 4 judges. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate your leadership. Wish your son well at Georgia State. Your sucking up to me isn't going to matter. I don't have a vote, but I will. And it's appreciated. But I think you'll find quite a bit of comfort in knowing that there are many people on the fence about Judge Leonard, so you'll be fine with that. Really appreciate your presentation, like all of them. Next, we're going to hear from Clayton County, Chief Judge Robert Mack. Welcome, Judge Mack.
Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
And I won't stand in the way of lunch, but I want to let you all know and thank you for the opportunity to present to you. And I was thinking there, looking at the fact that we had a 5th judge appointed to us in 2017, and 3 years later, we're back on the list for a 6th judge. And what that tells you is that when we got the 5th judge, we should have also got the 6th judge. We were running a cycle behind on where we should have been. And here we are today on this list with the other deserving circuits, and we're at 1.34. And I would tell you that that number is low. It was fine at the time, but it is a low number today. I would tell you that when we talk about murder cases, right now in Clayton, we have 74 murder cases pending for trial. We closed out about 30 last year. We closed out 18 so far this year. We have 30 more murder cases waiting to be indicted. We have a death penalty case that's also waiting to be tried. We have a RICO case with 66 co-defendants. That's assigned to me. We just picked up another 25 co-defendant case yesterday. And so crime in Clayton is increasing. You know, the busiest airport in the world is not in Fulton County, it's not in the city of Atlanta, it's in Clayton County. We don't get much money from the airport, but we get all the crime from the airport. Our sex trafficking has increased, our drug trafficking has increased, you name it. Our homeless people who are committing crimes at the airport has increased, but guess what? Our judgeship has not increased. Right now, I would say that I was talking with the district attorney, Ms. Tasha Mosley. Each judge has 3 assistant district attorneys in their office, in their courtroom. Each one of those ADAs in our courtroom has an average of 600 cases right now active, pending. That means each judge in Clayton County right now has 1,800 criminal cases pending that are active. And we're not even talking about getting to the divorces and all the others, the TPOs, and all the other stuff. So the number they showed us was 1,700 and something per judge. We have more than that right now just on the criminal side, criminal cases alone. And we add in the other stuff, we would certainly be far higher than the 1,800. And so we are definitely in need of a 6th judge. And also I want to say this, that when you look at that number, that 1.34, if you gave us a 6th judge today, we would still be at 1.14, still having the work of another judge that we would need it. And so we know that this is our third year on, our last year on here. And I just want to say that on behalf of the judges of Clayton County, on behalf of the citizens of Clayton County, we ask that you would recommend and support and help us get approved a sixth judge for our circuit. You know, Elvis had that song that made famous with Now or Never. What Clayton says now, and it's now. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Judge. Appreciate the presentation. Next, we will hear from Judge Craig. Is he here?
Chief Justice, I don't believe Judge Craig is here.
Okay.
Or representative.
Okay. I think they're just standing on their
Staying on the report.
their report. Okay, that's fine. Moving to the Northern Circuit, Judge Jeff Malcolm. Jeff? Same?
Same,
Yep.
and Judge Malcolm said, I mentioned that he's unavailable to attend and would like to stand on their circuit request.
All right, that sounds fine. Judge Letitia Deere Jackson. Judge Jackson, welcome, Chief Judge, and glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. Good morning, everyone. I am Chief Judge Letitia Deere Jackson. If this was Spanish, I'm just going to give you a day in the life of what it's like to be a judge in the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit. And so if I was to say good morning to you in Spanish, I would say buenos dias. So weze principal Letitia Deere Jackson. In Burmese, I would say mainai laran kaniwa kawin tani sai tara sauna kuntai hai tisa Letitia Deere Jackson. In Vietnamese, I would say chao bong san kan lao kontai on Letitia Deere Jackson. In Swahili, I would say habri za asubihi mini mi ni hamikun imku Letitia Deere Jackson. In French, I would say bonjour, c'est Swiss, hue in jefe Letitia Deere Jackson. And if I was in Georgia, I would say, hey y'all, good morning. I'm Chief Judge Letitia Deere Jackson, go Dogs. That is a day in the life of what it looks like to be in the Superior Court of Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit. We are one county circuit, and we've just celebrated our bicentennial year. I want to echo what some of my predecessors said before, that we are here for the same reason, because we need help and we need resources to do our constitutionally mandated job. And if I had the magic wand, Chief Justice, none of us would be here asking for your support, because we would all be able to get what we need when we need it to do our jobs. In the last 25 years, DeKalb County has not received a new judge. To put it in perspective, I am younger but still old. I just celebrated my 25th year of college. So since I graduated from college, DeKalb County has not had a new judge. Since then, we have grown to be the fourth largest state in the state of Georgia, the fourth largest county, in the state of Georgia. And even since 2020, since the census, we have grown almost 0.75%. We house 4 of the largest cities in DeKalb County, which would be Stonecrest, Dunwoody, Brookhaven, and we share a portion of City of Atlanta. There's 13 colleges and universities. We are the home of the Center of Disease Control, home of the GBI, home to countless ethnicities, immigrants, and have the largest refugee population in the state. In fact, we are home to what is called Ellis Island of the South, which has the largest refugee population. It's called Clarkston, Georgia. There in Clarkston, Georgia, and as well as DeKalb County, 70% of our county has a first language that is something other than English. That does not account for the different dialects. And so of those 125,000 people, that translates into more time in court for more translators and court time and court services. In fact, some of those native languages are so unique that there's only one interpreter in the state. I did not set this up, but just to give you a context, this past Tuesday, I had what I would call the United Nations of Civil Miscellaneous calendar. On that calendar, I had English, I had Rohingya, I had Dzogchen, I had Burmese, I had American Sign Language, and I had Spanish as well as Vietnamese. It required a lot of patience and a lot more time. And what was interesting is to ensure that access was given to every litigant and party, each translator was still translating simultaneously so that they can hear everything that was going on, so they wouldn't be sitting in a room feeling left out because they could not understand what was being said. What that required was on the Zoom, we had the translators talking to the parties by cell phone. And so that way they were able to hear and simultaneously transfer. But it still took time. So if you can imagine multiple languages translating what is being said to a native language. We often have other unique languages such as Karen, Amharic, Creole, and others that are not necessarily known and requires delays in trials because by the policies, they do have to have time and take breaks, and there might not be someone to trade with them. When I greeted you, like I said, that was just a glimpse of what it's like to be in Superior Court in DeKalb County. As we talk about the crime, there has been a significant increase in our SB 440 cases, our racketeering cases, human trafficking, and servitude, both in labor and sexual cases, according to the GBI's latest report. We are the 4th largest county. However, we are the 2nd highest crime county in the state. We have the highest crime rate. And in many, we are the 1st. There's a lot of things that I like to lead on, but crime is not one of them. But unfortunately, DeKalb County is the highest in rapes, robberies, arson, human trafficking, and human servitude cases. As far as our homicides are concerned, although we are the 2nd in the state, to give you context of what is currently assigned as an indicted case, the 10 judges, if each of us tried one case from now until the end of year 2025, we would not complete all of the cases that are currently assigned to us just on the homicides alone. On an average, we have about 870 cases that are open for each of the Superior Court judges. Similarly, our civil and our domestic cases are rising. I did 2 jury trials for domestic this past year, and in closing arguments, one of the attorneys said, I went to a CLE and they say there's only about 8 that happen in the state of Georgia. Well, if they've done 8, DeKalb has done 4 when you count my 2 and the other 2 that have been done. We also have a lot of the high asset and complex civil cases that are not able to go to the business court that we are doing. Many times we see ourselves with having week or 2-week long non-jury trials. There is, as everyone knows, Fulton is in the news lately, but it's just because it's not our turn right now. But there is a training facility that is being built in our county that has resulted in several arrests. And I have stayed in constant contact, and we are expecting a massive racketeering indictment at some point in time. When that happens, what that means is the judge that is assigned to that will have to devote more attention to that than some of the other things based off of some of the legal issues that we're even seeing now with pre-indictment motions. Arpa has been wonderful to us, and we enjoyed it, but we still have a backlog even if we didn't have Arpa. And when 2026 comes, there's not a foreseeable way for us to see ourselves out of this. We, like all the other circuits, have accountability courts. Judge McClain, we have housing as well. We just didn't get you to build it. But we have housing facilities for our gentlemen or men. We have 4 accountability courts. We have the Veterans Treatment Court, the Drug Court. We have 2 tracks, as well as a felony mental health court. We also have our own in-house treatment center, as well as in-house testing that we are able to do. Every judge that is in the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit works with the accountability court in one way or the other, except for one, and that's only because he hasn't been there even 90 days, so we're letting him get his sea legs. As I will tell you, so much has changed in DeKalb County in 25 years, but so much has stayed the same. And in the words of Sam Cooke, a change is going to come. If not this year, then next. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Judge. We likewise appreciate your leadership in the Stone Mountain Circuit and all that you do to afford justice to the folks in your courts. With that, we're going to move to the Tallapoosa Circuit and Judge Mark Murphy. Good morning, Chief, and welcome.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and honorable members of the Judicial Council. Greetings from the Tallapoosa Circuit. My colleague Judge Roper and I are here and bring you greetings. You know, when the circuit was created in, I believe, 1856 in Milledgeville by the General Assembly, it was a huge circuit. It was stretched from Floyd County down to Coweta and Heard County, and now we're down to 2. We had last Paulding and Douglas, you all left us, and we learned at JWAC that the happiest circuit in the state is the Arpa circuit. And I think we are becoming the loneliest. Everybody's leaving us, so we're down to 2, and Judge Roper and I look and say, is it something we said? But we are here because we don't view our judicial colleagues here as competitors. We all have a common need, but I'm here to offer a perspective that I believe is unique to 3 of the 9 circuits that you have before us. The litigants in our circuit, and to us it really boils down to the litigants. Our litigants don't all face the same obstacles arising from an unfilled judicial seat. The 2 judges in each of these 3 circuits share a common, and I submit to you, an especially challenging scenario. We serve a multi-county circuit. We split our circuit's entire workload with only 1 other colleague, and that means we both share 50% of a third unfulfilled seat. And we operate at the bare minimum of the state's allocation of judicial resources. By comparison, a circuit, say, with 8 judges and needs a 9th judge, each judge there has about 12.5% of that empty seat. So I just submit there's no judicial workload more demanding than 2 judges sharing the work of an empty seat. And circumstances specific to our circuit are these. Judge Roper and I both have death penalty cases. We don't get credit for both because they weren't both filed and noticed in a 3-year window. Mine was 2019, his was noticed this year, but because of COVID and the delays from 2019 to when I inherited it in late 2022, we're both essentially on the same timeline in the pretrial motions phase. So we have that. We both preside over our own accountability courts. I preside also over the child support parental accountability court. Judge Roper has the drug court. I have the mental health court. We see a large number of pro se filings in our circuit. Polk County has about an 18% poverty rate. Haralson County's not far behind that. We try hard not to practice law, but we do believe all litigants deserve access to the courts, and so we do what we can to help them get their cases moved, but it does require a lot of time as judges. We don't have any qualified magistrate judges or state court judges to recruit to help us with that. We have used senior judges, but we have trouble getting court reporters a lot of times, so that's been a barrier we've seen. But I served about 12 years as a magistrate, about 21 years as a juvenile court judge, and been on the Superior Court bench since 2018. And I've seen from those perspectives what delay to litigants means. For example, in a foster care case, we talk about civil or criminal cases. I've had a lot of parents in juvenile court have their reunification delayed because they couldn't get their criminal business or civil business addressed in the juvenile or in the Superior Court docket. So, out of all the circuits here, I think there are 3 of us here, Arpa, Tifton, and us, with just 2 judges. I think we are in the toughest place as we see it. And, finally, if this council really loves Judge Leonard, I believe we have the best plan to save him from 11 counties and 250,000 people getting mad at you. So if we 3 circuits get a new judge, you'll be in better shape. Thank you.
Chief, we appreciate your presentation. I don't see Chief Judge Clay Tomlinson from the Arpa Circuit. Is he?
Chief, we have Judge Perryman here.
I knew that.
Great.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For those of you that
Good
don't
afternoon.
know, I am not
It's like
Chief Judge Clay Tomlinson. He could not be here today. His mother had surgery down in Florida this morning. He felt like he needed to be there, and I don't blame him. My name is Dick Perryman. I am the 2nd Superior Court judge in our circuit. Judge Tomlinson is very tall, so they refer to me as the tiny judge. When we talked, Judge Tomlinson and I spoke about my coming up here and covering for him, and we are 5 counties, 2 judges, no state courts. We're the 46 years since we've had a judge, but I have no doubt that I am not going to convince you to move us from the bottom to the top. So I am not going to take up any more of your time. I will tell you, this has been a process for us in that virtually every week we are learning about the workload reporting. Our clerks are learning every week what is and isn't supposed to be reported. So we expect to see y'all back. I will echo my colleague in Tallapoosa and for Tifton. It is difficult to run multi-county circuits with 2 judges. It is incredibly difficult. We appreciate the work y'all are doing and y'all taking the time to do this. Thank y'all for having me here.
Thank you, Judge. We really appreciate you being here. Give Clay and his family our regards and our best wishes, please. Thank you. Before we proceed, a couple of the judges mentioned, and I think it's very worth repeating, and that is this is not a competition. Never has been. In fact, you have my commitment that I'm supporting a judgeship for every one of these 9. The challenge we always have is across the street. And so these presentations would resonate very well with legislators, but make no mistake, there is no approving some of these and not approving others. We approve them all. I support all of them. I want all of them to get a judgeship. I'd like to see the legislature approve 9 of them this year. The truth of the matter is you all need help. I have seen it myself, having been a Superior Court judge in a 5-county circuit or 6-county circuit with 3 judges. I know how challenging it can be. So I appreciate the challenges you're all dealing with. I'm sorry you're having to deal with such challenges, but just know my commitment to try to support everyone getting the support that they need, whether it's through judgeships or otherwise. So with that, let's move forward with, we're going to have 2 votes. Is that correct? Yes. All right.
So the first vote is going to be just on approval of the 6 new judgeships. After that happens, then there will be a ranking vote. So I think everybody, I'll just let Ben tell you all the process. We've got extra devices in case you didn't bring your phone or you don't have a device to use or you're having some technical difficulty and Steve Kelly couldn't help you. We've got a couple of iPads, but I'll let you walk everybody through the voting.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Ben Luke. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for the Judicial Council. So I appreciate Judge Leonard and all of your support for allowing me to shepherd us into the year 2023 and embrace electronic voting. It will significantly reduce the after vote time required to tabulate and calculate the results. I know this is what's standing between us and lunch, among a few other things, so I think we'll see that as a positive. In rare form, we will ask you to pull out your electronic device during a Judicial Council meeting. You found a vote sheet in the left pocket of your materials. If you don't have that, you don't have an electronic device, you can't scan the QR code or access the URL, please raise your hand. We have support personnel here to assist you. Charmaine, can you help Judge Hamrick over here, please?
Judge Brown.
All right, and we won't start until everybody's ready to go. Yes. It will prompt you for a passcode to enter. The passcode is on your materials. As soon as you're into the polling, you'll see nothing because we have not activated any of the questions yet. Vice Chief Brown, would you mind joining me? His role in this is to certify the vote, so he's going to shoulder surf while we do this electronically. All right, and before we get into real voting, I've set up a few test questions. So the first 2 questions that you'll see on your device when we activate them are not real votes. It will be obvious by the questions that we were asking. The first question we will ask will mimic the yes/no votes. The second question will mimic the ranking vote, and that will make sense as we go along. We'll allow a brief period of time for each vote, about 30 seconds or until we've accumulated the number of votes that we did in the previous. So if everybody's ready, we'll go ahead and open up the sample questions. Charmaine, are you good over there? Okay. We'll wait until everybody's in.
Can we take a quick poll to see how many of us think we're all going to get it right? I see some technology challenges coming, but let's see. All right. That's part. All right. Are you in? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Bear with me for just a moment while we get everybody access.
Sure.
Let it be known I'm the possum on the internet alley. By the way, Chief, while they're figuring out the technology over there, there is traditionally a opportunity for us to field any questions if anybody had any questions, and also an opportunity to deliberate with the chief judges of the respective circuits and members that are in a circuit that are requesting to step out and for questions to be asked. Just thought I'd put that out there, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to field any.
Anybody have any questions? In the nature of deliberation or otherwise? I don't see any.
Hearing none, I'll fade into the
All right.
bushes like Bart Simpson.
Thumbs up. If you're being prompted for a passcode, a reminder, it is on the printed sheet. Thumbs up all around?
Everybody in?
Okay. So a reminder, the first two questions are sample questions to get you familiar with the voting process. So we will open the first question. You should see it pop up on your device. You're being asked to vote yes or no and then hit submit. Okay, we have 26 responses. Very good. So we'll move on to the next poll. You're now being asked to rank a phrase. So
Oh, this is
I got creative, forgive me. The first choice you tap will go into position number 1. The second choice you tap will go into position number 2, and so on. You will not be able to hit submit until you have made all of your selections.
Yeah, do we have to vote?
Randomly generated, I promise.
I don't like video.
I should have included that option. I apologize. You'll see as you tap a selection to rank it, it will move to the top of your screen. After it's moved to the top of your screen, you can still drag and drop it if you have misordered it.
So far, this is much harder than I originally anticipated.
It is. There is a clear leader at the moment, but I will not reveal it. We are up to 21 responses.
I didn't even know the question. Oh, wow. Well, it's football season, not basketball season.
We are at 25 responses and just waiting on one more.
Come on, Bill.
I voted more evil number 1, but Go Dogs comes up number 1.
It's the algorithm. I don't know what to say.
I'm saying it's working.
Oh, it was Judge Harris. Okay. If you notice next to her banner, she's still got a paper day planner. So I like to rib her about that.
You can see how many are outstanding?
We're good, actually. It appears all of the Votes have been submitted. Mr. Chairman, should I reveal the results of this? By quite a margin, Go Dogs takes the win.
Dogs.
Okay, so those are the two sample questions. Don't leave the screen. The real ballots will appear on the same screen you're looking at now. Judge Leonard, do we need to pause before I open the?
Make sure folks need to know what they're voting on. So we're voting on just the 6. We're not ranking the 6. These are the new judgeships. The folks that have asked for, they're not carryovers. These are the folks that asked for new workload assessment studies. All you're voting on, yes or no, is whether they should be approved. That's all you're asking for, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that right, Judge Brown?
That's correct. Yes. So
Okay.
the question, you will have 6 new judgeships votes appear in alphabetical order. We'll give you about 30 seconds per yes, no vote. We'll pause at the end of that, and then we can begin the ranked voting. So we will open the first real question right now. This is how many have submitted.
No abstention.
Okay, we're at 26, so we'll go ahead and open up the next question. We are at 25 on this vote. Understood. We have 26, so on to the next question. We have 24 of 26 ballots submitted for this question. $25.
And 1 abstention, maybe.
Perhaps. Your call.
Has everyone voted that wants to vote?
Okay, we'll move along.
This may seem like it takes longer than the paper ballots, but you make this time up when you get to the deliberation and the counting and tabulating, right, Judge Mercier?
Yep, we have 26, so moving to the next question. Twenty-six of 26, moving to the next question. And we are at 26 of 26 on the last of the new judgeship votes, so we'll take a moment and pause and allow our vice chairman to review the votes before we move on to the rank vote. Okay. Okay, so the rank vote should appear on your screen right now.
For the rank vote, we need every vote. No incomplete ballots can be counted for policy, so we need everybody to.
If you all didn't hear that, our policy does not allow the counting of any incomplete ballots. You have to vote on all of them, or your vote doesn't, or any of them doesn't count.
You will not be able to submit your
Okay.
ballot unless you rank all 9. Takes a little longer.
Do you think you need?
We are at 13 of 26. And just as a reminder, we do have support personnel standing by. If you'd like a hand, raise your hand.
He didn't mean me. How do you, what do you mean as far as?
We are at 25 of 26, almost there. And we have 26, so I will lock the poll. Are you comfortable with displaying the results? Alexis, can you advance to the vote slide? And click to show the results, please. And you will have to scroll down to display all 9. But there you have it. The votes are tabulated. Oh, almost.
That's all you get.
Sneak peek. Alexis, can you scroll down?
Yeah.
No.
Ben, can you read it out?
I can. So in first place is Tifton, second place is Houston, third place is Douglas, fourth place is Clayton, fifth is Stone Mountain, 6 is Augusta, 7 is Northern, 8 is Tallapoosa, 9 is Alapaha.
All right. Hey, thank you for that.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think that concludes
That concludes your report. No questions?
our report, unless there's any questions.
All right, we're gonna move up the break, and we're gonna take a break now. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and hear from the Grants Committee on their written report. With that, We're adjourned.
Okay.
Let's come back to order and get started. I have some bad news to share. Some of you may have already heard, but our colleague, Judge John Worcester up in the Appalachian Circuit passed away yesterday morning unexpectedly. I heard from Brenda Weaver, and I've talked to Judge Weaver. I know that Judge Mercier knew Judge Worcester, but I wanted you all to know that he was a great colleague. He's been on the bench since 2016 as a Superior Court judge up in Fannin, Gilmer, and Pickens counties. And what I'd like to do at this moment is just take a brief moment of silence in his honor, please. If you'll bow. Thank you. We'll keep sharing his wife in your prayers, please. And if you need her address, it's in your Superior Court Judge's book, and I'm sure she would like to hear from you. So with that, I'd like to now move on to the balance of our agenda, starting with item H under 7, and this is the Grants Committee report at tab 8.
We stand on our written report.
That's a wonderful, wonderful report. The Strategic Committee, Plan Committee has materials at tab 9. Is there someone here to present that? They likewise stand on their written report. And now we will all hear from our AOC Director, Cynthia Clanton. Cynthia, thank you again for your leadership and for being here. And if you can please present at this moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Justices, judges, and judicial branch leaders. The dog days of summer are wrapping up, and we're looking forward to the cool fall and our work ahead. It certainly was a big summer for the Court of Appeals, with 4 swearing-in ceremonies. Congratulations to new Chief Judge Amanda Mercier and new Vice Chief Judge Trent Brown, who is great on the voting process, I might say. Quick learner. Congratulations also to Court of Appeals' newest permanent member, Judge Jeff Watkins. Thank you and welcome to Senior Judge Andy Fuller. We're thrilled to see you. And he's going to be with the court on a temporary basis as Senior Judge Appellate. Judge Phipps has stepped back from the bench to deal with some health challenges. We're sure keeping him in our prayers. Chief Judge Mercier is the 5th woman to lead the Court of Appeals. And to commemorate this achievement, the court issued an inspiring new lapel pin honoring its history of women judicial leaders. Pictured here are the five of the women who have ever held the position of Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, as they all attended Chief Judge Mercier's swearing in, which was fabulous. I'm pleased to share some wonderful pictures that we received from court counsels from the many, many conferences held throughout the spring and summer. Council's Superior Court judges held its summer conference. Shannon, 2 weeks ago, was it? I know. At which several AOC staff members were invited to speak, covering topics like IT and Arpa and much more. Thank you for having us there. Happy 35th to the Council of State Court Judges, which welcomed new President Chief Judge Edwards, President-elect Judge Jeff Hansen at its spring conference. And the Council of State Court Judges also honored its long-serving Executive Director, Bob Bray, with its Legacy Award. My additional congratulations to Chief Judge Edwards, just racking up those awards, Judge, who recently received a Distinguished Leadership Award for a successful term as Chair of the Judicial Council's Board of Court Reporting. Council of Juvenile Court Judges held its spring conference in May, and pictured here is Judge Warner Kennan being sworn in as president. Congratulations. Council of Probate Court Judges held a spring conference in April, welcomed new officers, including Judge Daniel McCrae as president, and Judge Scott Chastain as vice president, who is with us today. Welcome. And he's in for President-elect Judge Ballard. Happy 40th to the Council of Magistrate Court Judges, led by President Chief Judge Brandon Bryson and President-elect Robert Wolf. Congrats to Chief Judge Matthew McCord and Chief Judge David Will, who serve as the president and president-elect, respectively, of the Council of Municipal Court Judges. I look forward to the council's next newsletter, as I enjoyed doing a video interview with Judge Lori Duff for that edition. And congratulations are in order for Judge Duff, who just won the State Bar's 32nd annual fiction writing competition for her piece entitled Apparent Necessity. Special welcome to State Bar President Tony Del Campo, who had to leave, but who was sworn in by the chief at the State Bar's annual conference. I want to thank the State Bar for providing us with an exhibitor table at its annual meeting in honor of our 50th anniversary. We enjoyed the opportunity to highlight our mission with the legal community. It's wonderful to visit with the many judges and lawyers who stopped by to say hello, and of course we had candy. In addition to our exhibitor table, a great deal happened at this bar's meeting, and Chief Justice Boggs and then Chief Judge Rickman addressed members of the Board of Governors during a plenary session. The chief recognized outgoing bar president Sally Akins for her leadership and provided updates on the work of the Supreme Court, including Arpa grants and meaningful access to court interpreters. Judge Rickman honored the late Judge Clyde Reese and welcomed Judge Watkins to the court and noted anticipated updates to the Court of Appeals docketing system. Judge Tankel, who was with us earlier, spoke at the Judicial Section Luncheon about the work of the AOC and the Judicial Council and received a Spirit of Justice Award along with Judge Wade Padgett, presented by Justice LaGrua and Chief Judge Letitia Deere Jackson. Our congratulations to Chief Judge Bobby Chastain, who was presented the Chief Justice Thomas Marshall Professionalism Award by the Bench and Bar Committee. And Judge Vincent Crawford was honored with the Judge Willie Levitt Award for advancing the field of juvenile law. Also during the State Bar annual meeting, the Supreme Court's Committee on Justice for Children, chaired by Justice Bethel, presented its 2023 Hines Awards for outstanding advocacy for children in dependency cases. Superior and State Court Appellate Practice Act went into effect, just in case you didn't know, on July 1st, 2023. And a training video and materials approved for 1 hour of continuing ed are available on the AOC's website. Additional resources are also available on that website, including bench cards for judges and clerks, a citizen's guide, a model petition for review, a model certificate of payment of costs. If you have any questions or recommendations, please let us know. And the Judicial Council AOC hosted its first Criminal Data Exchange Board meeting at the AOC offices in early August, and it went really well. During that meeting, CDEX board members reviewed draft standards that will govern the electronic exchange of criminal justice data and assessed current challenges. The AOC has published its annual summary of enacted legislation, a convenient reference providing summaries of bills and resolutions pertinent to Georgia's judiciary passed during the session, which may be found on our website. Thanks to the leadership of Presiding Justice Peterson, who chairs the Judicial Council's Committee on Legislation, that committee is already hard at work preparing for the 2024 legislative session, which is right around the corner. The rules for legal interpreting in the state of Georgia were recently amended by the Supreme Court, and a courtesy copy of the rules may be found under tab 10 in your materials and on the Supreme Court's website. Justice Carla McMillan does a great job chairing that committee. Our ARPA team remains hard at work, and in June we met with the chief, and in early August we hosted an ARPA technical assistance training attended by 53 representatives from judicial circuits throughout the state. That session covered reimbursement procedures, supporting documentation, the new reimbursement checklist, and grant award extension. As always, the ARPA grant information is continuously updated on our website. Thank you to the many judges who gave interviews for our latest round of 50th anniversary commemorative videos, including Chief Judge Glanville, Chief Judge Deere Jackson, Chief Judge Hamill, Judge Rhodes, Judge Sizemore, Judge Hamrick, Judge Kennan, and former Chief Justices Norman Fletcher and Justice Namias. And it's not too late to sign up for our 50th anniversary service project. We're going to be volunteering on a Habitat for Humanity build in Cobb County on Saturday, September 30th, and that is a new date, right, Bruce? So if you're interested, grab your hard hat, your blue jeans, talk to Bruce, talk to me, and we'll get you signed up. We tallied the votes you cast during the last general session, not today, but before, to determine our 2023 Law Day Art Contest winners. Several of the winners received their awards in person from one of our local judges, and we thank them for that. I tell you what, the children are thrilled when they get those awards in person. May was Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and we featured this collage to honor our judges. AOC staff helped to support over 125 court clerks from across the state during their annual conference that took place in Savannah in June, which included educational sessions on garnishments, default judgments, bankruptcy, domestic violence issues. And I'm pleased to announce a leadership change in our research department. Longtime AOC employee Shamika Dodson, Shamika, stand up, was promoted to Assistant Director of Research in recognition of her many years of advanced data analysis and project management. Shamika will also continue to lead the Arpa team as a project manager. Very well done. Our court observation program continues, and we thank Chief Judge Rusty Smith and Judge Wade Padgett, who hosted our staff at their respective courthouses as we learn firsthand about the daily work of the courts, which is very important. My thanks to Chief Judge Katie Armstrong of the Gwinnett Recorder's Court for her outstanding and fun remarks to the AOC staff at our all-staff meeting last May. And now, as I traditionally do, I'd like to welcome the newest members of our judicial branch family. First up, we got Chief Judge Sapp's grandson, Caleb, Judge Wade and Alice Padgett's granddaughter, Grace, Chief Judge McCord's son, Chapel, and how many is this? This is like three? Yeah, three. Yeah, and you just turned 50? Yeah, 50. Okay. And the last time you were on the Judicial Council, you had a baby? Yeah.
Each time I'm on the council, I have another kid.
I'm noticing a trend. I'm going to have to get more baby bibs. Yeah, with you around. Yeah. Sergeant Dexter Harden's grandson, Malachi. What a cutie. And Judicial Council AOC Budget Director, Andrew Zoll. He's got two little boys. The first, Lane on the left with the tongue, is now 2, and that was his baby bib a couple years ago. And now Andrew has a brand new son, Pierce. So I'm definitely ordering more bibs, y'all. The AOC is a service agency for Georgia's judges and a statewide resource. We exist to serve you, the members of the Judicial Council. I work for all of you. Do not hesitate to call me and let me know how I can support you in the future. Thank you, Chief.
Wonderful report as always, Cynthia. We appreciate that. We've now moved to item 10 in the agenda, which is the report from courts, councils, and the State Bar. The Supreme Court is up first, and I stand on my written report. Now move to the Court of Appeals and Chief Judge Mercier.
We will stand on our written report as well.
Judge Bill Hamrick will present on behalf of the Statewide Business Court. You want to break the trend, that's on you. But
is it okay if I stand on my written report?
We could vote on it, but I think that'd be okay. Yeah, we'll do electronic voting and put Judge Brown in charge of it again. Council of State Court Judges, Judge John Edwards.
Mr. Chief Justice, we stand on our written report.
All right, thank you, sir. Council of Juvenile Court Judges, Warner Kennan.
Chief Judge, I should say, I know it will disappoint you, but I will stand on my written report.
It is disappointing. Thank you. Council of Probate Court Judges, Danielle McCrae.
Chief Justice Boggs, we stand on our written report.
Thank you. Council of Magistrate Court Judges.
Chief Justice, I'll shake things up and we'll stand on our written report.
Superior Court Judges, John Morse, I missed you. Judge Morse?
Problem? No report?
That was why I missed you. Council, thank you. Council Magistrate Court Judges Brandon Bryson.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went out line. We stand on our written report.
Fine, thank you, sir. Judge McCord.
Stand on our report.
And Judge President Del Campo has already given the report from the State Bar, so that resolves items under tab 10. We now move to 11, reports from additional judicial branch agencies. Council of Accountability Court Judges.
Ms. Allison.
Good morning. Good morning, Alice.
Good morning, thank you. Just to stop the trend for a moment, we do want to thank the Judicial Council for their support of our legislative initiative, the juvenile treatment court legislation. But otherwise, we do have a written report that has some great data in it if you're interested. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the work of the Accountability Courts Council. We appreciate your judges and your service. Judge Cindy Morris will present on behalf of the Georgia Commission on Dispute Resolution. Good morning.
We will stand on our report except for just two brief things. We want to thank the Council of Probate Court Judges for their support and their cooperation, their collaboration in implementing probate court mediation. We'll start training mediators in January. And we want to thank Chief Judge Mercier for her 7 years of service on the commission. So that was in our report.
Well, thank you, Judge. We appreciate that. Chief, Mike Holloman, do you have a presentation on behalf of the council?
Chief, other than we will be holding a strategic planning meeting at the end of this month with our leadership, and perhaps something that I'll alert y'all to.
Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate the service of our Superior Court clerks. Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, Carlise.
She wanted to stand on her written report. She had to go.
Yes, she mentioned that. Now the Georgia Council on Court Administrators, Lynn Anson. Good afternoon, Lynn.
Forgive me, because I do actually have a report. FY23 was a productive year for Georgia Council of Court Administrators. GCCA celebrated its 25th anniversary, hosted a fall conference at the Westin Jekyll Island, hosted a spring conference at Callaway Gardens Pine Mountain, and at these two educational conferences, a total of 1,618.5 educational hours were earned by the attendees. In September of 2023, GCCA will host its fall conference at the King and Prince, St. Simons Island. We will provide 2.5 days of educational programs, conduct our annual business meeting, and election of our 23-24 officers and board. At our annual meeting, our new GCCA president, Lenora Hawkins Ponzo, will be sworn in. GCCA will do great things under the leadership of Lenora. I'm looking forward to her leadership. On behalf of the Georgia Council of Court Administrators, I would like to thank the Judicial Council, for its continued support and promise that we will continue to provide education and support to the Georgia court managers. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. The ICJE Director, Lynn Moore Nelson, has submitted a written report, and she stands on that report, which you can find behind tab 12 with the other materials. The JQC does not have a written report, and they are not here to present today. Georgia Association of Juvenile Court Judges has a written report.
It's the juvenile court clerks. They
Clerks,
have a
I'm sorry. Written report.
written report.
Okay.
Now we're on to old and new business.
All right. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Thank you all for being here. This is always a long meeting, and I'm sorry for that, but we got quite a bit done. I hope you're proud of the work of the Judicial Council. Your contributions to the Judicial Council are very important to me. We've had, I think, a good meeting, and I appreciate everything you all do. If you need anything from me, please reach out and let me know. A couple of reminders. The calendar year 24 meeting is scheduled. It's down on the bottom of your agenda, and you'll see those calendar 24 meetings that are scheduled for February, April, August, and December. Our next meeting will be on Friday, December 8th at 10 a.m. It is a Zoom-only meeting. You will be getting an invitation from that. And after we adjourn, which is momentarily, I'm going to ask all the members to please gather for a photo.
Right. Bruce, where are we going to be?
We're actually going to slide the tables forward and just squeeze them back over and get it ready for lunch.
Okay.
Okay, slide the tables forward. Then we're going to have lunch. It's going to be available outside. Is it out here?
Yes.
We've got several places you can eat, both on the deck out here or in the cafeteria. And we're going to take a group photo and be done. So thank you all for being here, and we're adjourned.